been a glorious day in Jefferson City, Missouri. Met some wonderful people. Tyler gave me a ride in his truck. He showed me their wonderful home. And I told Tyler, you're really fortunate to be from the heartland. I'm pretty sure that this is a very, very special place to take care of those that have served all of us. And so I thank you for being who you are. This is a very, very unique and special night. It's a night to honor veterans and military. And it's a night to recognize lots of good young people who have served us very well tonight. And you know, I'm here because I was invited. I'm not a veteran, and I'm not a young person. But I welcome the opportunity to come because it gives me a chance to not only tell you some things about 9/11 and about Todd Beamer and about Flight 93, but it gives me a chance to express real gratitude to all those who have made America possible for me and my family. I'm especially touched by those of you that World War II vets that are recognized tonight. My dad, 5 uncles, all served. They're all gone now. As you would have it, 5 sailors and 1 Marine. My dad came back from the Navy with electronics training, which over time meant that he got out of the dairy business and he went to work for IBM. So he retired from IBM, which is very different than the life that we enjoyed on the farm. Just very different. And he got his training in the Navy. My Uncle Chuck, the Marine, came back from Iwo Jima. He came back without 1 leg, about mid-thigh. And Uncle Chuck became a brick mason. And he gave me summer jobs all the way through high school and college. Great summer job mixing cement and carrying block and brick, which assured that I went back to school come September. What I didn't know until my Uncle Chuck was gone, he also came back from Iwo Jima with the Navy Cross. He was a good guy too. So it's a special thanks to all of the veterans and all those who continue to serve. Well, that's your word for you young guys from World War II. Because you did, in fact, preserve for all of us America. And America is a place where I had the opportunity to grow up, pursue opportunities, exercise self-responsibilities, to succeed in some things, to fail in some other things, but a freedom to make those choices and do it. It's another special group of people here tonight that continue to answer the call. I know some of you answered the call to serve after 9/11. And certainly there are some here tonight that have really given a lot and to continue to bear the wounds and the scars of that service. And we certainly thank you and appreciate you too. I know, good people, if it hadn't been for 9/11, that David Beamer wouldn't be here tonight with the microphone. But because of what happened on 9/11, it has given me a platform and an opportunity to share some things that are important, and also share some things about what happened that morning, and maybe some pieces that you don't know about. So, if we can go back in time to that day, and a part I want to share with you is the fact that there were some blessings. There were some blessings on 9/11 for the country, and especially for the Beamer household. There are some people here that probably weren't, if you were born on 9/11, you were at least very, very young. Some of us who weren't so young can, remember the day. It was a beautiful day like today, cloudless day, beautiful sunny sky. And thousands of people got up that morning to go about their business. And our son Todd and 39 other free people had plans for that day. No idea of what the enemy had been conjuring up for years to inflict as much harm and damage and destruction and collateral damage on our culture as they could possibly imagine. Todd Beamer on September the 10th was in Rome, Italy. It's a long way from Flight 93, scheduled to take off from Newark, New Jersey on the 11th. He was a working guy, and he had a very important meeting in California with his biggest client, Sony Corporation, at Oracle headquarters on the 11th, so he got up early that morning to go to that meeting, having just gotten back from Italy late afternoon the day before. So Todd, along with 39 other free people, some were going back to school, some returning from vacation, some just going to see family, 39 free people got on board. And we all know they encountered the enemy. Now, Beamer, what are you talking about, that there were some blessings that morning? Well, I'll give you one. Flight 93's departure time was delayed. How many of you have ever been on a plane that was delayed? David, Jesse, your families? Not since last night, right? They got here at 2 a.m. this morning. It wasn't part of the plan. The blessing this time, though, Flight 93 was delayed leaving Newark, which meant it disrupted the carefully planned time schedule of the enemy. The real intent was for all planes to crash at about the same time. But since United Flight 3 took off late, with the other blessing of cellular telephone technology, some of the people on board Flight 93 heard, wow, 2 planes have slammed into the World Trade Center, which caused them pause to consider, hey, what the enemy is saying is that we've hijacked this plane, get in the back, sit down, be quiet, we're going back to Newark Airport where our demands are going to be met. Everybody just calm down. They concluded maybe that's a lie. We're not probably going back to Newark. We're now another guided missile, likely. Next blessing. 40 free people on Flight 93 considered options, what to do. Various options, plans, considerations. You know what they did? They had a vote. So here's the enemy attacking our way of life, our government, our republic. I think it's pretty neat. Democratic action in response. Let's have a vote and decide what to do. Another blessing. Todd was able, using the airplane phone, they're in the back of the seat or between the seats, different kind of communication technology. He was able to establish contact with the United Airlines supervisor. Her name also was Lisa, by the way. Wonderful lady, wonderful Christian lady. We've met her. He was able to establish a multi-minute telephone conversation where he described the nature of the enemy, what was going on, asked her to send his love to his family, prayed with Lisa Jefferson, and then that's how we know what Todd said, because the last thing that Lisa Jefferson heard was, "Are you guys ready? Let's roll." It's a special blessing to have an independent ear witness to the reality of the moment, so that not only Todd's dad, but the country was able to be assured that, hey, the free people on Flight 93 fought back. It was a blessing they had the opportunity. The plane that slammed into the Pentagon and the World Trade Center, there were brave Americans on those planes too. They had no warning. So it was a blessing that Todd and 39 others had some insight as to what was the plan, and they had a chance to do something about it. You know, those 40 people got up that morning. They weren't soldiers. They weren't in uniform. But that's what they became. And Flight 93 became a counterattack. Our first counterattack in our homeland against this enemy. And it was a victory. Everybody died. As I've had to remind the media over the years, the 40 free people on Flight 93 were not victims. They were killed in action. They had the chance. They fought back. They did. And the plane crashed, counterattack ended in this quiet meadow just outside of Shanksville, Pennsylvania, which is a town nowhere near the size of Jefferson City. And nobody on the ground lost their life. And as I had the chance to tour your beautiful state capitol building today, with its magnificent structure and wonderful artwork and dome, you know, I was reminded of our nation's capital, the end of the mall in D.C. We don't know for certain what the target was, but I believe it was the Capitol, because the enemy's strategic targets were center of commerce, New York City, World Trade Towers, Pentagon, heartland of military strategy. And what else do they hate about our culture and way of life? Our liberty, our rule of law, the Constitution, is completely incompatible with their view of how the world ought to be. Sharia law and our Constitution are incompatible, cannot coexist. So I believe their target was the heart of our government and legislature, and their goal was to kill hundreds or thousands more that day at the Capitol. And I don't know how many of you remember the dancing in the streets that the Islamists, we saw it on video, they were celebrating their victories that day, revolting. But they didn't get to do all the dances that they had planned, because their last guided missile, their strategy of that attack failed. And that was a blessing. There's another very special blessing for the Beamer household. That is that Todd Beamer was a Christian. He was a Christian on September the 10th, and many days before that. But you know, Todd was a very organized fellow. He was a successful salesman for Oracle, a software company. The reason that he and Lisa were in Rome, because he had earned a sales incentive trip. That means free, right? Free, take your wife, go to Italy for a week on somebody else's euro. That is the best kind. Very good, right? He had no idea what September 11th was going to be. I know in his daytimer, he doubtless had his schedule. He was planning to take the red-eye flight back to New Jersey that night. He planned to have breakfast with Lisa and his little boys, three and a half and 1.5, on the 12th. What he didn't have, I know he didn't have this on his daytimer. Hey, at about 10 a.m., meet God. Wasn't on the schedule. Great blessing for the Beamer household that Todd was a Christian on September the 10th. None of us know when our last day is. I really encourage you all to be ready for it. I know that many of you, I would hope all of you tonight, appreciate those that continue to serve and protect and to fight, because we realize and recognize that the same enemy that attacked us on September 11th is still the same enemy. If they've waved any white flags, I haven't seen them. The enemy has tactics beyond terror to disrupt and to change and to ultimately take away our freedoms and liberty and rule of law and the free will that God gave each and every one of us. Terror is not their only tactic. Infiltration is a tactic. And so what I would encourage you tonight is to be watchful, because their tactic of infiltration and overthrow from within to change things is real, and it's a threat. And so we all cannot go back into uniform or find the battles to fight, but we can all be watchmen on the wall with our eyes wide open, and to recognize the fact that the Islamic way of life and culture and rule and law is not compatible with our Constitution and way of life and value system and exercise of free will. So watch what they're doing. Local levels, schools, infiltration. Eyes wide open. There's another group of folks here tonight, young folks. And I said earlier, I really appreciate we had great service at our table. The food was outstanding. I'm pretty sure the young people didn't cook it. I was very certain of that when I ate it. It was very good, but the service was outstanding, and I just like to give you young folks a couple of words of encouragement. And from a guy who's been on the planet for a while, and I've observed over my career and interactions some attributes, some characteristics, some ways of living that I have seen good leaders have. and I have seen successful people have, irrespective of their role in life or their position, whether they're senior management or not, things that matter, things that really matter. So young people, I guess I got about a big 5 for you. Number 1, integrity. Integrity. Be a person of truth. Know your value system. Follow it. In large things and in small. If you say you're going to be someplace at a certain time, show up. Be there. Integrity is vitally important to each and every one of us. And even in your young lives, you observe people that have it and people that don't. Stick with it. Number 2, have passion. I'm not talking about hormones, young people. I'm talking about being energized with what you do. Do what you love, and you'll never get tired of doing it. I know it's hard to figure out, well, what am I going to do with my life? And there's so many opportunities, and that's good. You can sort it all out. Pick one that you love, and you'll always love doing it. Number 3, this is really a big one in my mind's eye, humility. Some of the greatest people I've known have also been the most humble. They recognize team and teammates. Humble people do not excessively use the personal pronoun I, my, me. Lots of great people. Be humble. Number 4, be an encourager. Do you like being on the other end, right? Being the encouragee, having people giving you good feedback. Sometimes it's constructive feedback. But be one of those people that encourages your teammates. It's okay to encourage a teacher. You might someday even encourage your mom and dad, right? It will serve you well. Number 5, attitude. Do we all know people that have a lousy attitude? Maybe they're in great shape. Maybe they have all kinds of blessings. They still got a lousy attitude. Do you want to be around them? Not so much. God gives us all the right now. He's given us today. We trust He's going to give us tomorrow. And I know we all have good days, and we have some days that are challenging. But even in the midst of all that, you can decide, am I going to be generally positive about it? Just been my observation over at least 6 decades when I was able to be aware of what was going on around me, that integrity, passion, humility, encourager, and an attitude, things really matter. They really matter. You do these things every day of your life and you're going to be successful, whatever your station or position or role in life. I remain confident. I remain grateful about who we are and what we've got. And I'm so thankful to all of you that have made it possible. You know, Todd's last 2 known words were this "let's roll" thing. And that's good. That's good. Marine gentleman earlier tonight showed me his bracelet that had "let's roll" on it. I bumped into a retired Air Force guy in the Senate chambers down at the Capitol today. And he said, hey, I worked on the jets, maintenance on jets. And, well, let's roll painted on the side of them. I'm glad that the country had that as a rallying cry. I'm glad that it was a call to action in an incredible circumstance. And I would encourage all of you that when you see that or when you think about that, make Let's Roll your personal call to action in that situation, whatever it happens to be. I'm not suggesting it has to be getting ready to launch a counterattack, but whatever the circumstance, make Let's Roll your call to action to do the right thing. That's what happened the first time we heard it. People were called into action to do the right thing. Make it your call to action to do the right thing. It's been my pleasure and my opportunity to be with you tonight. I thank you so much for your kind attention and for your hospitality. Keep up the good work in Jefferson City.